In the beginning, there was nothing but darkness and an empty void. But then, God decided to create something beautiful. So, in 6 days, God brought forth the wonders of the world. On the first day, God said, "Let there be light," and light appeared, separating day from night. He called the light day, and the darkness night. On the second day, God created the sky above and the waters below. He made a vast space to separate the waters, and the sky became a beautiful canvas of blue. On the third day, God said, "Let the waters come together, and let dry land appear." And so, the seas and oceans were formed, and the land emerged, covered in lush green grass and beautiful flowers. On the fourth day, God placed the sun, moon, and stars in the sky. The sun would shine brightly during the day, the moon would glow softly at night, and the stars would twinkle, creating a breathtaking spectacle. On the fifth day, God filled the sky and waters with magnificent creatures. He made birds to fly gracefully in the air and fish to swim gracefully in the seas. On the sixth day, God created all the animals that roamed the land. Elephants, lions, giraffes, and more appeared, each with its unique beauty and purpose. Finally, God said, "Let us make humans in our image, to be like us." And so, God created man and woman, giving them hearts filled with love and minds to think and create. God looked at everything He had made, and it was perfect. He rested on the seventh day, making it a special day of rest and reflection, which we now call the Sabbath. And that's how the world came to be, a beautiful creation made by God's loving hands. We must always remember to take care of this precious gift and appreciate the wonders of nature that surround us every day. Once upon a time, in a beautiful garden called Eden, there lived two very special friends named Adam and Eve. They were the first people that God created and were very happy in their new home. God gave Adam and Eve everything they needed in the garden. There were juicy fruits on the trees, colorful flowers, and friendly animals all around. They spent their days exploring and taking care of the garden together. But God had one rule for them. They could eat from any tree in the garden except for one called the tree of knowledge of good and evil. God warned them that if they ate from that tree, they would know things they weren't meant to know. One day, a sneaky serpent came to the garden and talked to Eve. The serpent tempted her, saying, "Why don't you try the fruit from the tree of knowledge? It looks delicious." Eve hesitated, but eventually took a bite and gave some to Adam. As soon as they ate the fruit, they felt different. They realized they were naked and felt ashamed. When God came to visit, they hid from Him. But God knew what had happened. He was sad that they didn't listen to His rule. God told them there would be consequences for disobeying. Life would become harder, and they would have to leave the beautiful garden. Despite their mistake, God still loved them and provided clothes for them. Adam and Eve learned an important lesson that day. It is essential to obey God's rules and trust His plans. They left Eden, but carried the hope of God's love with them as they began a new chapter in the world. And so, the story of Adam and Eve teaches us about the importance of making good choices, following rules, and relying on God's love and forgiveness. Once upon a time, in the early days of the world, there were two brothers named Cain and Abel. They were the sons of Adam and Eve, the first people created by God. Cain was the older brother, and Abel was the younger one. They lived together with their family in a beautiful garden called Eden. Cain loved to work in the fields and grow crops, while Abel took care of the sheep and offered the best of his flock to God as a gift. God was pleased with Abel's offering because it came from his heart, and he offered it with love and thanksgiving. But Cain became jealous of his brother's offerings being favored by God. Instead of talking about his feelings with God or Abel, Cain let his anger grow inside him. One day God spoke to Cain and said, "Why are you angry? If you do what is right, I will also accept your offering." However, Cain's heart was clouded with jealousy and anger, and he didn't listen to God's advice. One day when they were in the fields, Cain lured Abel away and, in a fit of rage, he attacked and killed his own brother. God, who sees everything, knew what had happened. He came to Cain and asked, "Where is your brother Abel?" But Cain lied, saying, "I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper?" God was saddened by Cain's actions and said, Your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. You will be cursed for your wicked deed. God put a mark on Cain so others would know what he had done and would not harm him. Cain was filled with sorrow and regret for what he had done. He realized the weight of his sin and the importance of seeking forgiveness. Though he faced consequences for his actions, God showed him mercy and protected him from harm. From this story, we learn the importance of talking to God when we are struggling with jealousy or anger and seeking His guidance to make the right choices. We should also remember the value of love, forgiveness, and caring for our family, just like God cared for Cain even after his terrible mistake. David and Goliath. Once upon a time in the ancient land of Israel, there was a young boy named David. He was a shepherd and loved taking care of his father's sheep. One day, the mighty Philistine army came to fight against Israel, and they had a giant warrior named Goliath. He was huge and terrifying, and no one in the Israelite army dared to challenge him, but brave little David had faith in God. He knew that with his help, anything was possible. So he approached King Saul and volunteered to face Goliath. The king hesitated at first, but allowed David to try. Instead of wearing heavy armor, David picked up 5 smooth stones and his sling. As David faced Goliath, he said, "You come against me with swords and spears, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty." With a prayer in his heart, David swung his sling and hurled a stone at Goliath's forehead. The giant fell to the ground, defeated. The Israelites rejoiced, and David's bravery and trust in God became an inspiring story for generations to come. The story of David and Goliath teaches us that even the smallest among us can do great things with faith, courage, and trust in the power of God. Please subscribe my YouTube channel. I hope you like this video. Thank you.